July 13th. It's Sunday. It's 8:05 a.m. Oh, uninterrupted epidemic sound instrumental. Just to get your audio systems in line. Yeah, there's yours truly. The big news of the day is it's hard to believe, the 1 year anniversary of when candidate Trump was almost assassinated. A killer rifle round ticked off the top of his ear, which means it missed his head by, like a half inch more. It would have, it would have blown up his head, on live television. And we wouldn't have this 47th president. God knows who the president would have been with that kind of a incredible outcome for someone's campaign. But, he survived an assassin's attempt, which is some kid, 20-year-old kid that was able to climb up on top of a building, can you imagine, 150 yards away, and pull off 8 shots before he got shot. 8. Now you got Dan Bongino. He stamped out of the stompeded, ran, fast walked, fists firm. Out of the Department of Justice. Or the FBI. I think he's deputy director of the FBI. And he's all PO'd about the Epstein files. That everyone seems to be all exercised over the Epstein files. What they ought to do is incinerate them. Who the hell cares about this guy? He's... Number one, he's dead. He presumably hung himself. Who knows if he had help or not. There's 1 minute of tape missing. Exactly 1 minute of tape missing with the cameras. No one can explain that, of course. Anyway, I know what the media wants, the Epstein files. They want the little black book. They want to know, who went on these excursions to Epstein's private island. He was a wealthy guy. He had his own jet. And they went off. They would fly off periodically to Never Never Land with beautiful young girls. The question is, how young? Number one. Number 2, were they in servitude? Just young girls that lied about their age and had fake IDs? You know, the truth is, if a girl presents herself as a 20-year-old, for example, and she's only 15, and she has a beautifully architectured fake ID, you know, just what's the deal on, you know, how much, you know, if someone presents themselves, you know, as a 20-year-old person, and I'll tell you what, these 15-year-old girls these days, you know, with the makeup and the way they dress, they can look 25. You know, it's on the movies all the time. Come on, wake up, everybody. And, you know, you're supposed to hire an expert in identifications. You know, so that's one, you know, defense, if you will. I'm not a defense attorney, but it happens all the time. You know, fake IDs, bouncers, and bouncer. Yeah, the guy looks in the front of the door. He looks at the girl. Looks at the ID. The picture is the same. You know, it doesn't look like it's scotch taped. Yeah. You know, today you have all this, you know, I mean, I have the devices in this apartment, these lamination machines, so forth, that can laminate and slip in a photograph. You know, if you got the date of birth, you know, it's just, you know, how much investigative work does a guy at a front door at a bar or a guy at a front door at a fancy airplane, and they're going to fly off to Never Never Land with some political figures and some other notable figures that are going to, you know, have fun with whatever that means, you know, with beautiful young ladies. And they're in their 40s or 50s, 60s, whatever. And they, you know, so they go up to this private island with unbelievable mansions on the private islands, and, you know. So the whole question of underage girls is an issue, you know, because how do you know they're underage girls? Who the hell said? Oh yeah, well now you go back and you go to motor vehicle records and all that. You know, I mean, the regular person doesn't have access to motor vehicle records. I would have to, you know, I'm a relatively smart technology person, I'm told by others. And I don't know if motor vehicle records with dates of births and pictures and residences, addresses. I don't think I have access to such a record. So how the hell is somebody that's presented this ID with a picture that looks exactly the same as the young lady that we're trying to make sure she's not underage, and, you know, so, well, anyway, what are you going to do? She's 21 years old, 22 years old when she's 16, 2 years underage, got to be 18, you know, to be the age of majority. But, you know, the media don't care. Oh yeah, she's 15, underage girls. She was out with a congressman. I want that little black book. You betcha. The media wants that little black book. Now, you know, why there's a fire up Bongino's butt, I can't tell you, other than the fact that apparently he knows what's in the files, you know, box, whatever they got. They got tapes. They confiscated, thousands of hours of tapes. These people dancing around, parading themselves in front of cameras and kissy-wissy, with people in high office. But it could be high office of businesses, not government. But probably government too, So the media wants the address book because that way they can destroy politicians' careers. Bill Clinton is supposed to be on. He got all kinds of photographs of him getting on and off these airplanes with all these beautiful young girls. Well, I'm sorry to say, I'm gonna annoy 75% of everybody that might be listening, but if you were married to Hillary, wouldn't you give him a free pass every once in a while to go off and into Never Never Land with some people that aren't so intense? Well, that's the way it goes. We're talking down through history. Lots of history. So now after all these people that are helping with this flood disaster in Kerr County, Texas, 129 bodies have been recovered from that flood-ravaged areas. But there's still 160 people missing. Now we're probably a couple of weeks into this. And I don't think we're going to recover any people that are alive. And they could be downriver like 50 miles. Who knows? Some alligator could have eaten them. Or other fishes that are indigenous in the area. So these 160 people could be, you would think law enforcement. I would think that law enforcement has scoured that list of the missing people and matched it up against the deceased, so that you would mark off some duplications. Because the governor of Texas invited, if you think anybody, if you have the slightest notion that someone might be missing, call this number. And there are probably a lot of well-intentioned people that brought up missing people, that aren't really missing. They're on vacation. So over the next weeks, that list will be scoured. They're trying to give some closure to the parents, friends, relatives of the deceased, or the missing. 129 bodies. So they're going to get their closure, and they can have their funerals. Well, some portion of that 160 is real. Maybe all of it is, but I don't want to say it isn't. But let's just say there are 10 duplicates, So 150, still a lot of people are missing. They're gone. They're supposed to be at this address. The address no longer exists because whatever structure that was on a particular plot of land is gone because this river, which is known to flood, these areas are known flood prone areas. I mean, it's serious. Every time it rains, it floods, but not to this extent. But here you had, I'm going to say 7-8 inches of rain that happened in a very short period of time in already water-soaked, hilly areas. It's not mountainous areas, it's like hilly areas. Where the elevation may be 10 or 15 feet. But, if it's 10, 15, 20 feet, and it's all sloping towards, that water collects and starts going downstream. I can write a book when I do not know what I'm talking about, but you get the point. Yeah. Swap the cameras, please. I like to be on the right side of the picture, so we have a standard situation here. And then my images are on the left side. Pretty good images. We're flashing this as a high quality mode. It's high definition TV. Cameras, capable of 60 frames a second at least 1080p. It's the 13th. The 1-year anniversary of Trump being shot at. So the news media and news cycles is going to be flooded with everything they know and don't know about that. You think a year later they'd know everything. I still haven't heard. Seems like I heard something about Iranian. This kid had some Iranian contacts somehow. Some kind of secret, communications links. What the hell's that all about? Was there payment made? Or maybe you only get paid if you succeed. Who knows? But it'd be a good idea if some part of that was deciphered and disclosed. Because right now we know nothing about this kid. He's some little loner kid that had a rifle on top of a roof. That was allowed to get on a roof. Local citizenry saw him fooling around the building a half hour before. Local citizenry watched him climb up on the roof. They're screaming and yelling, and the local police were dragged over and they saw it and this and that, and the Secret Service ignored it. Even though it was, there was conversation back and forth between the sheriff's office and all that kind of stuff. The Secret Service chose not to listen to the local citizenry with this kid that so the headline with the Washington Post is instead of Secret Service, it's Secret Disservice. It's disgusting. I mean, it's, I think the left wing that's controlled, the Secret Service just stood down. They were hoping he'd get shot. If you can't beat him, kill him. As disgusting as that sounds, we're in a democracy. No, we're in a bureaucracy that does not want to be dismantled by Trump. Trump is a wild card in the game of cards that trumps everything else. We got pictures, and you can see this kid running around the top of the roof, and then he takes pot shots. He pulls off 8 shots with a telescopic sight. 450 feet away. I think what's... all right, now I'm going to make a statement that I'm not allowed, I should not be making, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But I have, I have 8 or 10 weapons in my apartment up here. Half of them have never been shot. I'm more of a half-ass gun collector, than I'm a gun enthusiast. And we used to go shooting all the time 20 years ago, and now we don't. We'd like to go to a shooting range and just pop these things off on hitting targets. We've threatened to do it, and, we just can't seem to get everybody together at the same time. We're trying to get together to have dinner. There have been 3 or 4 dinners that have been canceled because someone was, was scheduled properly, but just, just too tired. And, if you don't mind, Mom, I'm just a little tired tonight. Can we just do this another day? So I told Marilyn, this Sunday, we're going to dinner, and we're going to get a table for 4. And the 2 boys are invited. And they can sit in position A and B, and they either show up or they don't. We're going to have dinner with them or without them. 4 is marvelous. If we get 3, then we'll have 3. And if it's just 2, perfect. I like 2. I don't want to sit there by myself. I prefer if you show up. Marilyn, if you don't mind. So we're going to dinner tonight, like it or not, at Mia Rosebud, a spectacular, 4.8 star restaurant. I don't know what it takes to be 5-star. It's a damn good restaurant. I've been there once with a good friend and his wife, and it was just spectacular. We're gonna eat there again. We both liked it so much. And so why don't we just go back to the same place? We're not culinary critics. We don't have to spread it around. We find a good place, that's it. We'll just go there. Ad infinitum. Oh boy. I don't know what's going on with this article, so I'm just going to pass it. But something to do with the Israelis and the Iranians. They use supernatural... Palestinian Hamas terrorists keep guard on the day Hamas handed over deceased hostages, in this certain province in the southern Gaza Strip on February 20. That's what that photo is. So, there you go. Everyone's got the face masks on. No one wants to be identified. I don't blame them. And our ICE agents and our FBI people, when they're busting in places and rounding up these illegals, going to call it Gestapo. You know, the Democrats call it Gestapo tactics. I don't know what that means. I mean, they haven't read enough history books. They're just trying to incite riots of the left because the right is in charge and they're getting rid of, you know, this, the worst of the worst. But if the not so worst happen to be in the same place as the worst, they're gonna round them all up and deport them all. They're not going to say, well, you've only murdered one person, you can stay, and you've murdered 3 or 4, you go. No, you all go. And if the other person has been arrested for armed robbery and not convicted yet, he goes. You know, forget about the conviction. You're out of here. You don't have a visa. You don't have papers. You broke federal law. Jump on the border. You're out. You know, get rid of all these people. And don't load your rifles with rubber bullets. Just shoot them. If they give you any kind of pushback, shoot them in the feet. Shoot them in the ankle. So they can't run. Shoot the ground right below their feet. So that bullet spray, you know, rip some skin off their ankles. I wouldn't pull any punches with these bad guys. They're shooting at you, and they ain't shooting rubber bullets. Donald Trump threatens to take away Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. I wonder how you do that. That would be an interesting exercise for the Department of Justice. She's not a happy person. She's left the country in protest. She's in Ireland. Well, good riddance to her and her followers can listen to her from Ireland. And that's what's going on here. Trump arrives at the Bosch Palace for a dinner during the NATO summit on June 24th in The Hague. And comedian, actress, ooh, are you kidding? Rosie O'Donnell attends Sky's UK premiere of The Last. This photo was taken by Patrick. A Getty image. You see right there. A photo by, images by. All right, who pushed the button? Hard to tell with that. At the end of that, right there, you see that? A photo by is Patrick Van Catwidge, and images and photo by Mike Marshland. Getty images for Sky Now. So we don't know who took the picture. One of those two individuals. Probably the first guy. Second person did some digital imaging and some cropping, and he provided the image to Sky Now. So this kid, this gentleman, young man, asked ChatGPT when he'd be able to retire based on my current finances. The guy's 35 years old. There you go. Chat GPT is going to say, don't retire. Keep working. All right. The Chinese scientists have created cyborg bees that can be controlled like drones for undercover military missions. Now that's real scary. So you got some bee that can fly through the crack in a door and look around, and you're on live, you're on camera with this little bee that's hanging on a picture frame. Ouch. Listening and seeing. You know, Chinese scientists have created a cyborg bee. Now, is it this bee? Or is that just SEAL Team B? a tiny backpack relays commands straight to their brain. Researchers at the Beijing Institute of Technology have turned innocent bees into cyborgs that can be controlled via 74 milligram insect brain controllers. Holy crap. Now that is, that's scary. As the South China Morning Post reports, the controller pierces the bee's tiny brain with 3 needles and uses signals sent via electronic pulses to make it fly forwards, backwards, left, and right. In the meantime, it can see where it's going with the bee's eyes. There's the bee. He's a hairy little sucker, isn't he? Yep, he's got his antennas up. Watch out. So somehow or other, they got a little controller in there. And of course, the bee has a lot of eyes looking in a lot of different directions. Kind of like a Tesla car. I got Tesla on the brain. Yeah. The self-driving feature is quite amazing. Yes, I have to say, they've come a long way. I have yet to have anything. I've interrupted it only because we wanted to stop over here and get some ice cream. And it was off the route. So I just disconnected it, and then a little guy in the Tesla car says, "Why did you disconnect the autopilot?" It wants to know, you know. And then the command goes back to Fremont, California, because they're trying to fix, you know, whatever's wrong with the autopilot. Well, I can't find anything wrong with the autopilot so far. Yep. I mean, you know, go to work, back from work, go to Publix, go back home. We used it to go to have lunch yesterday. General purpose humanoid robot is demonstrating its motor skills and resolution at the 2024 WAIC in Shanghai, China. This is not a Tesla robot. This is a Chinese robot. And everyone, you know, because Tesla is making a humanoid robot, everyone else has jumped on the bandwagon, making humanoid robots. I don't know why we're talking about George Patton. These are some of the few stories that I clipped this morning from either yesterday or today sources. Little House on the Prairie. Melissa Gilbert issues a blunt PSA for women over 60. The former child star did not mince words with a bold message. And the Little House on the Prairie star, Melissa Gilbert, issued a blunt statement saying, I'm not stupid, so stop pushing me around. I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's her blunt statement as a 61-year-old, the bold message to her followers. I don't know about you ladies, but now that I'm over 60, get off my case. I have zero tolerance for those who want to cajole or control or manipulate me. Period. With a P word. I put that in there myself for dramatic effect, because the P words, these microphones, are supposed to defend against P words. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Meanwhile, your speaker system is going, bonkers to try to not knock over the knickknacks in your living room. It's amazing, isn't it, that you can sit here and produce a high-definition television broadcast for anybody to watch live, which is 8:42 a.m., You can see by the clock right there. That's real time right there. That is within 50 milliseconds of the real time. So we're very interested in having the correct time. Yeah, so we have our... let's see if I can press this down just a little bit. Yeah, pull that back just a little bit. There we go. Federal agents and National Guard troops confront protesters. Now, these protesters, they're a special breed of them. They're professional. They get paid. But they throw rocks. They throw Molotov cocktails. They set things afire. And the liberal media and the liberal elected officials, you walk around carrying signs, that's one thing. And then you have, if you got a lot of people, then you have, the police forces or whatever. They push back to make sure they're not blocking a road or whatever. These guys, they're going to pour gasoline on it and light a fire. Well, the federal agents are going to say no. And superior courts have in California, and I don't know if the Supreme Court weighed into this or not, said the President of the United States is capable of activating the National Guard and whatever other forces he just chooses to use to stamp down unrest and to protect federal buildings and private property. Yeah, they can do whatever the hell they want to do. So if you start throwing bottles at federal agents, you better watch out. And if you're an illegal and you don't have papers, you're going to be deported because you're creating civil unrest and you're no longer a guest of this country and you will be expelled, essentially. Put you on an airplane and dump